Hi guys, Table here. Today we have some more user-submitted videos for replay analysis. If you want to have a video potentially selected, you can join my Discord. The link is in the video description below, and there's a section on there to submit clips. I'm looking for mainly like average games that are close games and have opportunities to improve. I'm not looking for your all-time best game, so please don't post those type of replays. If you want to comment on the video, that's always appreciated, but keep in mind these are players that are asking for advice on how to improve, which should be admired, so just make sure we're keeping the comments respectful on these videos. So first up, we have a game in a Scharnhorst, and looks like we have a division with another destroyer there you can see in the foreground of the screen. So far, you're doing what I would do. I like to play on the outside of these rings. There's a couple maps with kind of centralized rings. There's a cruiser in there right now. I would take a look over there and see if you can get a shot at him. You're going to do alright with destroyers. You do have your HE loaded, which is the way to deal with these, but you always want to be looking on your map for possible crossfire situations, especially on broadside targets of ship classes that you are designed to kill, and the Scharnhorst excels at killing cruisers. So I would at least take a look over there and see what's going on. Your destroyer buddy there had about 1,000,000 torpedoes and it looked like he was just sitting still, and they all missed him. So that was actually quite a bit of luck there. This is a good instance here on using gun lock. Keep an eye on your back turret when you're kind of flipping back and forth like this from side to side. If you lock your guns, you're never going to have that rear gun play catch up. If you don't want to use gun lock for whatever reason, try and keep your camera just slightly pointed to whatever side you want to be favoring. In this case, your left side of the ship. And we do have another Akatsuki here. Torb's coming in. As soon as that kind of beeping sound went off, I would have definitely glanced over here. I'm near in a hot situation with this Akatsuki closing in. And you do slam on the brakes here, which is good. Now, you do have secondaries going off, support from the... Looks like you have a kid on your team as the other destroyer. So, you guys managed to put down 3 destroyers right off the bat, which is a huge advantage. I mean, these games where you have 4 versus 5 destroyers, those destroyers individually aren't as valuable as they could be in games where there are less destroyers present, but if you can get a quick advantage like you have here, taking out 3 of those, that lessens the impact of those cruisers on your team dying, because cruisers are very valuable in killing destroyers, but because you're able to kill, 60% of them on your own, then that kind of gives your team an advantage at this point in the game. Those Pensacles rolling in here, I mean, looking on the map, you don't really have anything else to shoot at, so I guess shooting there isn't a problem. But as you see there, they did die before the shot went off. Now, if you have situations like that where you have multiple people shooting at the same target like that, and you're in a battleship with a 20 to 30 second reload, in your mind you should be saying, if I don't shoot this on reload, is that target going to die in the next couple seconds? And it's going to vary in the situation. Like if you're going against a battleship, for instance, that has the potential to, if he gets off one more salvo, that could potentially kill a ship or at least deal a lot of damage. So in that case, you might want to just rush the shot no matter what. But in a situation like that where you had a Pensacola, he was burning, he had 2 or 3 ships shooting at him at least. In a lot of situations, you want to hold your fire. But again, looking at the map, you had nothing to really fire at, so that wasn't a problem. And now we do have 2 destroyers on their base. Their entire enemy team is on the southeast corner of the map. You really have no problem winning the game here. Unfortunately, one of your destroyers is leaving to cap your teammate. So I'm an advocate of clearing your side and defending the base, and I want to use that mode of thinking about 80% of the time. This is one where, looking at the game situation, again, looking at the map, I would just go ahead and cap and screen. What you would want to do here is position those 2 destroyers more on the eastern side of that red circle. You could go out in front of it to the east of that, maybe about a grid square over. You can concentrate the fire while those ships accrue points. And that remaining battleship looks like he's just slowly going into the circle, but 3 ships on there. again, you're mainly full health. You do have 3 heals. I think, barring an absolute disaster, you should be able to win that. And keep in mind, you do have a cruiser on the cap, so really, they would need to bring the entire brunt of their team to reset all of you guys. But you positioning outside of that circle would prevent them from getting close enough to spot those destroyers. So that's the screen part, and then they're capping. And even if they're shooting at that rear battleship to reset him, those 2 destroyers are going to keep accruing their points. They're not going to be reset. They can move backwards if there's pressure pushing you guys back, remain undetected, and you should be able to close that situation out. So I understand the urge to go back and defend the base. Most of the time, that's the right play, but in this one, reading the game, I think you would have won pretty easily had you just executed that play. Now, that's not an easy play to execute in random battles, but when you have a division, you could have for sure executed that in tandem. The other destroyer looks like he was perfectly capable of sitting still and accruing capture points without disrupting the plan too much. So we'll see how this game ends up, but I think if you end up losing, that's going to be the turning point right there. Now, if you're coming off just to get extra damage, then that's a pet peeve of mine. I mean, I really don't like it when players don't understand how to win games. Now, as a caveat for the viewers, these are 2 guys that I have division with. They're both accomplished players, so I do know they're smart players and good players, so a little bit of disclosure there. So I just think they misread the situation. Now, that destroyer to the north that's unspotted was able to kill the cruiser, and if he was attempting to cap, you should expect him to be on the cap by now. The Scharnhorst is kind of distracting you. Again, this is another situation where you're going to want gun lock. You can fire your salvo, lock the gun in place, glance over. You need to be constantly looking over there for signs. Smoke, potentially. I don't know what kind of destroyer that is, but that Scharnhorst is spotting for you. So there's a smoke cloud right there on the left of the screen. So it doesn't seem to me like you're reacting to it, and it's not extremely obvious because your attention's probably on the Scharnhorst. Now the cloud's not even on the screen right now. But because, again, this is a reading the map situation, because that destroyer isn't on the cap, which is one of 2 options, the other option is he's coming to torp you, okay? And so you need to be pointing at him. I mean, killing the Scharnhorst is completely inconsequential to the game at this point. He's putting him outside of position. These destroyers, I mean, you had a 2-ship lead, I believe. Now you're down a ship. And again, I'm not going to harp on you guys for leaving that cap earlier, but the game should be over. This should have been a very easy win. And now you did... I think you positioned your ship correctly. It looked like you were probably aiming towards that destroyer. Why you want to do that is those are where the torps are coming. And it's a lot easier to dodge torps if they're coming straight at you. If they're coming broadside, that's when you're in trouble, especially as in a battleship. Scharnhorst v. Scharnhorst, when you have 5 times as much health, 10 times as much health, whatever it is, I wouldn't even be worried about taking shots from this guy. Now, you do have your secondaries going off on your left. That's like an alarm clock. Woo woo. You need to just forget about that Scharnhorst immediately. Akatsuki's in your range, fine. So the secondaries will take care of him, but I wouldn't even care about... this Scharnhorst right now is the least inconsequential ship in the game. You know, he's a one-shot. He's out of position. He's not affecting things. He can't kill you. I don't know what your destroyer's health is, but he should have a hard time hitting him from that range. And here's the broadside torps we were worried about. That's the other part of that. Once those secondaries are going off, you can rely on them to kill him, but I would have angled in here, like now how you're pointing where that ship was. Akatsuki's, you gotta remember, that's a very quick reload on that particular destroyer. That's why a lot of people prefer the Tier 6 Akatsuki to the Kagero. I personally have my Kagero set up to fire the torps about as rapidly as it possibly can, so it's not as big of a detriment for my build, but a lot of players, the Akatsuki's preferred because of that quick torp reload. So even though, and here's the other calculation you need to make in your mind, by the time that first salvo got to you, most Japanese destroyer players, well, not, let's say at least half, maybe it's most, I don't know what, I can't gauge how every player plays, but a lot of Japanese destroyer players launch their torps at full range. So by the time you see them, especially on a quick reload ship like the Akatsuki, you just got to assume there's more torps about to be launched, or about to be reloaded at least. So if I was in that destroyer personally, I would get right to my edge of detection and try and torpedo close range, but I don't think, based on what I observe out there on the high seas, that a lot of players are going to do that because they're worried about accidentally getting detected. So you guys are able to close out those two threats, so the destroyer and the Scharnhorst, which is fine. You're still up 2 ships, and the right play is turn up, sail away, and let the clock run out. The possibly even slightly more correct play is put your destroyer in your cap, and you need to be about 3 grids away from the left of that island that's in the top right corner. Maybe if we're calling A the horizontal column or whatever the hell it's called, row, A7 or 8, whatever the hell it is. You can be behind it. You could potentially reset, but get that destroyer on there to spot. These ships are going to have a hard time getting to your cap to put pressure on it. You're up on a lot of points because you had guys in the cap for so long. You had a destroyer in there for multiple minutes. You had a battleship in there for a while. Your partner was in there for at least 30 seconds. That's a lot of points. And you can see on the score, even though you have the exact same ship line up, 1 destroyer, 1 battleship, you're up by about 80 points. And that was because you accrued all those points. So charging into them like this is just you guys being frankly bullheaded about this. That's a very good predictive torp by that destroyer. That's torp 101. No, that's torp 201 for players. What I always say is you should try and learn how to aim on the aim indicator as a destroyer, and then you need to learn how to not aim on the indicator. And he was using his knowledge of player behavior to predict that Colorado was going to turn to the Colorado's left, and he torped to the right, the destroyer's right, our right, to anticipate that turn. Had he shot him right on the indicator, he would have missed left, but he kind of predicted that perfectly, and he clipped him with about 2-3 torps. So very nice job on that one. Again, at this point, there's no reason to push into these guys. Except for you want the kills. You're at 46k damage. This is not going to go down as your best game, known to man. I don't know what your destroyer's kills are at, but I don't think you're about to break any personal records here, so I would just play this extremely conservatively. You're playing it the opposite of that, though. Battleships pushing into blind situations where you know that destroyer is probably right around that corner you're looking at, or right around the other one to your right. Extremely dangerous. Do put a salvo into them, and you take one there. That's about half your remaining health. At this point, the Colorado's sailed past. You have torps coming in. Stop right here. You got a minute to chill. That's the game. Alright, you want to... Colorado just killed your kid, which is now it's a major problem, and now you definitely cannot push into that situation. Colorado's going to be reloaded by the time you get over there. I don't know what kind of destroyer that is on the enemy team, but I only saw 1 salvo come through this gap. There's a strong chance they have another one. If it's a quick reloading torp destroyer, you definitely can have another one. 30 seconds. Stop. It's still... Oh, no. You're down on the score now, so I guess you do have to push in. These are the frustrating games. These are the games, like, if I die and I sit around watching my team play, I just get really ticked off. So, execution-wise, how you guys were shooting, fine. Very good job. I don't have any problem with any of the game mechanics, but reading the map situation there, obviously I think he could have definitely won the game 5 minutes in, and I think he could have won the game 10 minutes in by defending your base. So either way, you had opportunities to win that game, and definitely don't push in at the end like that when you're into a blind situation. The Colorado can definitely smoke you, and that destroyer could potentially torpedo you as well. Alright, so next up we got a Mahan game on North, domination mode game. Looking at the roster that you pulled up earlier. It's a tier 4, tier 5 game. So you spawn north of B. I don't know why you're conceding B. What ship are you afraid of? They got a Gaede and a Farragut. The Gaede potentially could hurt you, but I would not concede it like that. The Farragut, I mean, they have one battleship set behind them. You do have 2 ships behind you, so potentially they could have supported you, but your entire team is just abandoning 1 point. They're actually capturing all 3 points, so if they're able to get all 3 of those and you win this, that's going to be a miracle. I mean, when you lose all 3 points right off the bat, you should lose the game 95 out of 100 times. So I don't like conceding B like that. The destroyer that we still don't know what it is. Now you're looking at it, I was going to say he's on the map. It's a Farragut. Why are we afraid of the Farragut? You're kiting away from him. You have the advantage. Slow down to half speed. Start pummeling him. Switch to HE. Why are we not shooting that destroyer? Kill him, go rack, and take B. You got half your team dealing with Omahas and Aobas over here. They're all spotted over here. There's nothing for you to be doing. So that Farragut needs to die. I need to go get B first off. You're down the other destroyers, so your life's pretty valuable. Getting into close with this ship whose guns are now turned at you. You know, I mean, you should be dead in this situation. This replay should be over as far as I'm concerned. You know, so he got torped there. He never shot at you for some reason. I don't understand what was going on with that guy. Same thing with, I think that's an Omaha, the 5.4. Yeah, these 2 cruisers should have shot you. This one should have shot you 2 or 3 times. He's shooting something beyond you. So my rule of thumb is you always want to play as though your enemy knows what they're doing and your teammates know not what they're doing. And then this is the situation when you should be pleasantly surprised by them doing the incorrect play. But absolutely, you should have died. Rushing into 2 cruisers who, you know, had no reason to not be shooting at you should end up with you dying every time. Now you're attempting to smoke this ship here, which is nice. Unless you're in a division and you know you can count on your teammate, I wouldn't really waste your smoke on them. But since you are using it, turn to this guy and start blasting with HE nonstop. The smoke on these USN destroyers is like their main offensive weapon. You got a 2-minute charge, and it's got great coverage, so now you're doing exactly what you need to be doing, but I would have just swung the guns over there as you were deploying the smoke. And the theory behind these is as long as those ships are spotted and they're within your firing range and looking on the map, you have at least about a grid's buffer with this guy. So he should 100% die. There's no reason to back up behind it. Especially, you don't know where that destroyer is, but if there's a ship behind you that spots you when you're shooting that you're not accounting for, you can get detected and then something can potentially shoot at you. So I would just stay in that smoke unless you have some reason not to do so. And just finish that Iron Duke off. This is kind of the opposite of what I said in the last game, where deciding whether to get the final blow on someone or not. Destroyer reloads in the Mahan very quick. There's no reason. You're not putting yourself 30 seconds out of firing by taking another shot. He did actually get another shot, and I think he got a kill off. Now, whether you had shot and finished him off and he wouldn't have been able to shoot or not, we don't know. But in my mind, there was no real reason to let up on that ship. And here's the Farragut that you spared earlier. Let's see. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't try and torp him. I mean, you have the quicker reload. I think they're probably the same guns, but you should have the advantage. Now, when you're close-range duels with these destroyers, the best way to deal with it was what you were doing earlier, which is sail away from them. Kiting away from them is just as effective in a destroyer v destroyer battle as it is in a cruiser v cruiser battle or a cruiser v battleship battle. It's the advantage is always going to the person sailing away, so there's no need to rush them. All you're doing is potentially setting yourself up to get torped, or making it easier to deal damage to you. So unfortunately, whether you would still have more health or not, I think you probably would have, but you ended up killing that ship anyways. Your team captured A, which I think they would have done without you. But execution-wise, I think you did well once you got here, you know. deploying the smoke and killing the Iron Duke. That was a good, solid USN destroyer play. You know, in a perfect world, you'd want to ideally position that smoke so you'd have multiple ship coverage where once the first target goes down, you'd still have other ships potentially in that firing range, but that's just kind of, again, that's a ideal situation that you want to try and look for. It's not always going to be present. Now again, smokes, USN destroyers, probably your strongest asset. You only have 2 of them unless you have the Boss Dewey build with the extra consumable. So you can almost make the argument that you shouldn't have used the smoke on the Iron Duke because it's a low tier battleship, and there was enough people shooting at him, and he's probably not going to pick the destroyer out of the crowd to shoot at return fire. You never know. I'm not criticizing the play, but it's just something to think about. Now here on the map, let's just evaluate what's going on here. I mean, you guys are all clumped up into a bunch. They have multiple crossfires into you guys. You can see they have 2 ships to the north, 2 ships to your southeast, and 1 destroyer that's presumably quite near you. Well, it's in the smoke, obviously. I'm staring at the map, but look at the screen. We should assume is here now. I would turn and pull up the torp indicator. You have a situation right now where you can probably shoot the torps at the Queen Elizabeth and potentially hit this thing. You know, he's low health. Alright, so just finish him off. I mean, don't worry about torping him. But it was worth trying to... If you launched the torps at the Queen Elizabeth, you never know, that Gaede might have been just sitting in the path anyways, and you could have gotten a 2 for potentially, so... That's worth exploring, but he just kind of roared out at you and didn't shoot, so I think this is another case of destroyers trying to torp each other close range, which is almost never going to be the correct play. You want... Destroyers, when you're fighting other destroyers, just rip the guns. I mean, forget you have torps. If you have... Let me put it this way, and you do get some torps on that Queen, so nice job with that one. And even though he was doing evasive maneuvers, looked like he kind of predicted that. So that was good. But destroyers, when do you want to use the torps? It's very situational. I don't think I have an example here to point out. You have a smoke here. You need to be identifying, can someone spot this guy? If not, then you need to get for cover. You can't be dueling a battleship close range. This is a major problem. Looking on the map, you do have the guy right behind you. I would just use the smoke here. You do have that other torp on your right hand side, which it looks like you're accessing that, but he's reloading. He just got the shot off. You just ate another 50% of your remaining health to get a torp, which it looks like he's probably going to dodge. He's turning away because most players that have played more than 100 games start to get the drift that when destroyers are close range, they're not shooting, they're torping. We need to take evasive maneuvers. So if you hit that guy, I'd be pretty surprised, but no, it looks like he was able to dodge that. So is that worth becoming a one-shot to pretty much every ship? No. You're in secondary range, and yeah, I did blast you there. So very kind of aggressive when you didn't really need to be. I understand it was late in the game. You were probably playing a little fast and loose to try and make something happen. Not going to criticize you for that, but I think that cruiser that was remaining could have spotted for you. If not, just move to the west a little bit so you would have had an angle on him. When you're smoking targets with the intention, or when you're smoking with the intention of shooting targets like that, you need to make sure the other ship has the clear line of sight. So in that case, you want to move out of the way, pop the smoke, then blast the guy with the guns. You would have killed him. So all in all, pretty good, but I think abandoning B was a mistake, and just kind of working target selection a little bit would help you out there. Alright, next up we got a Grasse domination mode fault line game. This side of the map I really like if people play it well, i.e. the people on my team, but usually they either completely bug out and go towards B, or they just don't play well. You don't have a destroyer over here, which is really the nice thing. Each side has an island like the one you're behind here. Ideally, you'd want to be about a half a grid to a grid further back towards where you spawned. Have a destroyer sail out pretty much straight west, maybe a little bit southwest. Start scouting those long-range targets. There's a lot of times you're going to be spotted by planes on this, which is not much you can do, but you can just really successfully sail over, close to this island, sail shots over it. The de Grasse is really high floaty shots, so you can typically get closer to the island than they can to return fire, and that makes it basically a one-way engagement for the first, opening salvos. What you don't really want to do here is poke out at this Queen Elizabeth. This is another slot situation, which I definitely would always try and avoid, where you have an island to your right and an island to your left. That means you can only go forward or back. Grasse is a very slow to start and slow to stop type of a ship. A lot of cruisers are like that, where they're kind of glidey, and when you try and stop, they'll keep going forward for a while. When you try and back up, it takes a little while. I'm assuming you probably have it spec'd out with steering gears like I do, which kind of exacerbates the problem. If you have prop mod, that might cut into that problem a little bit, but usually for most cruisers, when do you want to stop and be motionless is when you're in a situation like this where you're undetected and you can fire. I'm not seeing that white triangle icon. I would aim it on that Queen Elizabeth, just see. I think you could be shooting shots here. Additionally, look at the map. You do have someone on B. I can't tell. Maybe you can shoot them, maybe not, but I would at least take a look over there towards B and see. A lot of these little islands in this map have little kind of grooves where you can sneak shots through that you might not expect. So you have someone on B, you had someone now is undetected, but to the southwest B, both in your firing range. Just look over there, see if there's shots here. Queen Elizabeth's there. This is the problem with you being too close to this island. You can, if you're a little bit further back and these ships are detected, you can just sail shots over these. And the key to the Grasse is you don't want to be getting shot. You don't want to be 6 kilometers away from a Queen Elizabeth getting shot. I mean, this thing could potentially one-shot you. You did a pretty good job of steering and angling there. But I would just gun it here. You do have torps, by the way. You have 1 launcher on each side. So right now, while you're waiting for the reload, just go ahead and pop those out there. Even if you're not fully intending to hit them, what it does is it puts pressure on them, and you never know, they might turn into them and maybe they'll keep sailing straight. You just never know with torps, but it just adds elements of danger for them. And a lot of players start to get overwhelmed, they're getting shot. Like going into the Navy, they're told, if you want to sail a battleship, all you have to do, pop it in reverse, kick back, relax, that's it. And they believe it. And then when they get into situations where they're close range fighting ships, people are shooting at them, they're like, man, the pressure's piling up. Now we got torps coming in, man, I didn't sign up for this. They'll freak out, make mistakes. That's when you can capitalize. So get those torps in there. It just compounds the anxiety for a lot of players. If he's a really solid player, he'll shrug it off, but you never know. And like you say, the whole idea of torps is just, it's kind of random on both sides, so you might get lucky and actually hit them. But I would definitely use them, and this ship fishtails back and forth well enough that there's no reason not launch both of them, especially when that ship was aggressively chasing you like that. What you really need to be doing in that situation is get him to disengage, which he's doing now. And look at the map. You have a full grid and a half worth of firing distance between you and this guy. So even if he turns around, and looking on the map, the destroyer popped up. The destroyer is the Queen, if you want to consider this a chess game. They have 1 destroyer on their team. The Queen Elizabeth is, not the Queen. So stop shooting this thing. He's about to die anyways. Whatever that destroyer is, now you notice him. The Fubuki, he must have shot or maybe got plane spotted, but he was going to be detected for about 20 seconds or less. With this ship, you can get 3-4 salvos off in that time. Potentially kill him, probably not, but if you damage him half, 3/4 of his health, that's going to change the behavior of that ship for the rest of the game. That York was trying the old broadside to a battleship experiment, and with predictable results there. But that Fubuki, I mean, keep an eye on him. Now that you know he's on your side of the map, you're kind of responsible. I would also get closer to that battleship and defend him, because that's probably what the Fubuki wants to do, is get rid of that battleship. If they're playing correctly, this crew over here, they've captured A, so their next job is wipe out this side, and that'll take control of the entire western side of the map. So that Fubuki shouldn't be coming towards you. You're a lot harder for that destroyer to kill than that battleship, whatever it is. So if I was in that ship, that's where I'd be going immediately, and I would, as you, I would be positioning myself to intercept that. Charging a Fuso is not going to be a profitable play. You keep angling here, which is fine, but this is not a heavily armored ship. Like, if that's a broadside shot and those land, the game's over. But because you angled, you only lost 2,000-3,000, whatever it was. But keep these ships at the edge of your firing range. You do not, in any cruiser, want to be charging battleships ever. Light cruisers, never, never, never. I mean, that's a risky play right there. I try that sometimes too, but let's see if you get away with it. No, you got zinged. So, and that could have been a kill shot as well. If you're in that situation where you're kind of nose in on someone and you decide I can't be closing in on them, which is the correct play, that's what we were talking about a second ago, wait for them to shoot. Stay angled, just give them a slight 10-degree angle either way. Absorb the volley. There's the destroyer again. Alright, you got him now. That's your target right there. Put torps on him. You got one, predict he's going to turn right. Just put him in the water. Again, you're not expecting them to hit, but just get him in there. And then blast away. Just kill this thing. But getting back to that turn, you want to stay angled, wait for the salvo to come in, then you got about 25-30 seconds, whatever the reload is on the particular battleship. You want to stay going pretty full speed so you're not slow to turn, getting off of that. But wait for the salvo to come in, then turn, and then you're not going to be risking that citadel. You guys did a good job of killing that destroyer, which again has a heightened importance on these low destroyer count matchups. Unfortunately for you, you used your damage con, now you got to fire. I mean, we'll see how it ticks down. You're either going to be dead or pretty low, so we'll see what happens. But I mean, I don't think you did a horrible job of playing this side. It was just kind of little things that can add up, but you definitely want to be putting a premium on that destroyer's life, and I think you guys did kill him, so that's the important part. But the sooner you can do that, what it mainly does is cut down on their ability to spot, which then will allow you to position yourself more defensively, especially using Lemon's ability with the heightened cooldown, or the decreased cooldown on his detection range. There's a lot of things that go into it, but you can see now, like for instance, you don't have any ships in your detection range, and because that destroyer is dead, you know that for a fact. So just defensive positioning gets a lot easier when you get rid of those little random guys that could spot you, and not to mention that battleship who got killed by other means. He was definitely, his life was in danger to that destroyer being present. So, I mean, at this point, you got 3 ships left, they got 5. You're, a stiff's wind away from exiting as well. What do you really want to do here? I mean, I would if you had $1 million riding on this match, you want to get behind those 2 battleships. Use them for cover. Those battleships that they're dealing with, they're probably going to shoot at them until they notice you being a one-shot, and then they'll shoot you. But you can also use them for spotting, alright? So you can get into position, use those islands that are ringing the north of B there. Again, this ship is very good at lobbing shells over islands, especially long-range shots like that. So if you can get into cover, use those islands to fling the shots over, and then just rely on the 2 battleships that are now down to 1 battleship. As long as they're alive spotting for you, you can essentially take free shots by utilizing the covers. So how long they're going to be alive? Probably not too much longer. Unfortunately, your team kind of melted, and you guys didn't. I mean, I wasn't paying that close attention to the rest of the game, so it's hard for me to say they didn't do that well. But despite losing your capture point very quickly, I thought you guys slowed them down quite a bit, which is one of your objectives playing your sides. You want to slow them down, stop them, push them back, kill them, in whatever order is necessary. So we're still moving into position. I mean, we just have to assume that these guys are whittling this. We got a Scharnhorst here, which he's coming into range now. This island that's directly to your right there, I would just angle in now and use that for cover. You can just take a sharp right turn and just start bombing on him. As long as that ship that's probably about to die and your team is alive, you're going to get free spots on these things. And there's no reason in putting your light. Alright, so he's already dead. So, kind of academic at that point. And as long as you can shoot at something, they can shoot at you. So, you're not going to last very long either. So, grand scheme wise, I don't know. Not a lot to find fault with there. It was just a mix of little things that kind of added up. So, hopefully that helped you guys out. I hope you guys did like the video as a whole. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. There's a lot of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions for me, comments, leave them below. And we'll see you guys all later. Alright, peace.